Stardew Valley is a farm simulator game launched February 28th, 2016, and is a game I've been playing since about mid-March 2016. So I'm a wee bit of a veteran to this game, and I have to come clean off the bat and say that this is one of my absolute favorite games of all time. Easily number 3 in my top 5 favorite games, it's safe to say that I recommend this game to almost everyone and think it's a solid 10 out of 10 indie gem. I have 100% completed this game, done everything and seen everything, so I believe I have some credibility and entitlement to ramble about this beautiful game. I should probably say what this game is actually about, so this game is actually about how you inherited your grandfather's old farm, and you take over as the farm's new caretaker in order to escape the monotony of city life and working a dead-end job. So you move to the farm in the small town of Pelican Town. And for this, I'm going to talk about the, quote, story, the townspeople, life on the farm, how it feels to be a farmer, why you should never go for 100% completion, and a rant on just how much I love this game. Come with me, and you'll see the wonderful and wild, wild life that awaits beyond the valley of the farm. Look at Mr. Businessman working his 9 to 5 at the soulless Amazon stand-in company JojaMart. The monotony of a dead-end job gets broken when your grandpa dies and he leaves you with the deed to his farm in the wonderful little town of Pelican Town in the wondrous valley of the Stardew variety. Enter character customization and create your farmer from the vast selection of options. I created a dark red-haired female farmer named Melanie during my perfection run, so that's who the following information will follow. You can also choose some other things, such as what pet you want on your farm. I chose a cat named Mr. West. Or what your favorite thing is. For this file I said talking heads, not that you were wondering. And most importantly, what type of farm you want. This does matter, as each farm type sets up for different things, like a farm that prioritizes foraging, or mining, or fishing. I chose the beach farm, as it was new at the time, and also fishing is always a vastly efficient method of earning money early on, and also extremely necessary for completion. Anyway, with my character sheet filled out, I stepped off the bus and entered my new overgrown farm. From here, the story becomes what you make of it. Do you befriend the town, do odd jobs, grow whatever crops you want to grow, catch and sell fish, cook, clear out the mines, or complete the community center? There's so many options, and yet the, quote, story hinges on the last thing mentioned, completing the community center. In Pelican Town, there are two things that matter, the community center and a JojaMart. These two entities are constantly at odds with each other, and that's where the story truly starts. Do you sell your soul to Satan and make as much money as possible in order to turn the community center into a Joja warehouse, thus defeating the entire point of why you moved to the valley in the first place? Or do you put in the blood, sweat, and tears in and complete the community center like a real farmer? Obviously, I completed the community center like a real farmer. In the community center, should you do it the way I did, you'll find various bundles that need to be completed that ask different things of you. One asks for various amounts of money in order to fix the bus so you can reach the desert. Another asks you to catch various fish of different rarities in order to unlock the ability to pan for gold. Another asks you to grow various crops in order to repair the greenhouse on your farm. The point is, it's meant to be a challenge that rewards you with various things to make life easier, and I made it worse for myself by remixing the bundle requirements, just for the thrill of it. I completed the center and became a community champion. Also, completing the community center drives JojaMart out of the town, just to tell you that much. This unlocks many, many things, but that's for the completion process. So the story goes on hold until you've completed the community center and the mines. The mines are self-explanatory, so I'll keep this brief. There's 120 floors in the mines, and you need to get to level 120 in order to unlock several things. Most importantly, you need the key on 120 in order to unlock the skull caverns in the desert. So assuming you've got both of these, your option for continuing the story involves a cutscene outside the fisherman's shack telling you about a boat in the back of the shop that needs repairing. It's similar to the community center, but only 3 bundles, so much shorter, thankfully. Anyhow, repair the boat and gain access to Ginger Island where the story continues. On the island, you have to solve various puzzles in order to collect golden walnuts so you can unlock more of the island. Once you've gotten 70 of the 130 walnuts, you gain access to Mr. Key's Walnut Room. in terms of actual story, is the end. From here, it's all off to completionist territory, or just vibing and following the routine you build for yourself, or doing some of the things I mentioned way earlier, or should I say, the rest of this game is the small town experience. Stardew Valley is a game about a bunch of people in a small town named Pelican Town, and as such, the people are the real immersive aspect. In this regard, the game is very similar to a weird movie I adore called True Stories, released in 1986, directed by David Byrne of Talking Heads, which is, as the movie says, quote, a film about a bunch of people in Virgil, Texas, end quote. Both are bizarre and somewhat surreal experiences that suck you into a small town that feels odd yet very familiar at the same time. It's really compelling. However, this is very off topic, so I'll rein it in a little. The people are eccentric, from the old man mayor, to the jock, to the shop owner's gamer daughter, to the wizard, to the teacher, to the raging alcoholics. There's a lot of people in this game, and for the most part, they're all likable. They all feel cohesive to the setting, and each person feels like they add something special to the town, and it's great. So, allow me to talk about the villagers you'll encounter on your way through the valley of the farm. There are 34 or so villagers throughout the game, each with their own characterization and quirky nature, and among those 34 or so exist the 12 marriage candidates, 6 male and 6 female. The males include Alex, the sports guy, Sebastian, the emo, Sam, the music man, Elliot, the writer, Shane, the alcoholic, and Harvey, the doctor. The guys are all kinda lame, in all honesty. Shane's character arc when you befriend him is fun as you help turn his life around, but the rest are kinda boring. Sebastian sucks, just in general, he's such a pain to befriend. Alex is a douchey sports bro with a dead mom. Elliot is a pompous dick who lives on the beach writing. And Sam is okay. I actually don't have a problem with him. I do, however, have a problem with Harvey, as he's a pathetic loser. He's an anxiety-riddled mess and is just painfully boring. Like, out of all the guys, he feels the weakest. Like, you could break him like a twig with how paper-thin his character arc is. The Bachelorettes fare much better than the fellas, as they actually have interesting character things. There's Leah, the redhead artist nature girl, Haley, the city girl, Penny, the teacher who grew up in the valley, Abigail, the shop owner's old daughter, Emily, the pseudoscience fan sister of Haley, and Maru, the nerd daughter of the carpenter. Leah is unquestionably my favorite character in the game. She's fun, smart, an artist, and all that good stuff. She's a sculptor who works with wood and lives in the woods along a river, and it's great. Her arc involves you helping her set up an art show and helping her get her work known and appreciated. Haley is a close second for my favorite character, because of her arc from going from being a jerk to becoming a country girl, as she learns to appreciate the small town experience. It's really great to see. Also, she's a photographer, so big bonus points for that. Penny is another interesting character. She's the teacher to the 3 kids in the town, and she was born in the valley. And she exists as the polar opposite of her mom. Where her mom is a drunk who does nothing with her life, Penny wants to teach the kids in the town and help them grow to be better. Abigail is the emo girl, and she's alright. I don't have much to say outside of her being fun, I guess. Emily is forgettable, she doesn't do much, and I despise Maru because she's annoying and weak like Harvey. The other 22 NPCs consist of various people, but most of them aren't important. Those who are important include Clint the blacksmith, Robin the carpenter, Pierre the shopkeeper, Willie the fish king, Marnie the livestock farmer, and Wizard the wizard. These NPCs are among the ones that are the vendors of various things you'll need. Robin is needed to upgrade or build buildings. Marnie sells you animals and feed. Clint opens geodes and upgrades your tools. Willie sells you fishing gear, and Pierre sells you your seeds and other such goods. To tie back to the True Stories comparison, the game revolves around this small town dynamic, with JojaMart invading this small town. It's comparable to the messages in True Stories, that being the message of consumerism in small town America. The consumerism is seen with the large company in the town being where most people work, i.e. JojaMart, in this case, and Vericorp in True Stories. And the small town aspect is how seemingly bizarre small town feels. heh. And the small town aspect is how this seemingly bizarre small town feels vaguely familiar as soon as you've been in there for a bit. It's interesting, and the small town experience is something I can't get over because it's so unique and relatable. It's amazing. Also a huge recommendation to watch True Stories because it has really good music, and in all honesty, these two things are far more similar than you'd initially expect. And both are genuinely amazing. So find both Stardew Valley and True Stories. And now for the gameplay, or rather life on the farm. There's a lot to do, from growing crops, to fishing, to mining, to romancing villagers, to other fun things. There's a lot to talk about, and I'll talk about that here. Crops are vital to making money, who would have thought? And as such, there's a lot of them. A good strategy for spring is to make as much money via fishing as possible, since it doesn't cost anything to do, for the Spring Egg Festival, so that you can buy as many strawberry seeds as you possibly can during the event. Proceed to plant the tons of seeds you bought and make tons of money as you sell each strawberry harvest. Considering that strawberries can be harvested multiple times before the season ends, it makes for a good source of income as long as you water them. Another strategy I like is as soon as summer starts, start growing corn. Corn grows in both summer and fall, which makes it a very valuable crop. And if you can get enough money early on to build a shed, or if you can complete the crops bundle in the community center and as such have unlocked the greenhouse, I recommend buying a ton of hops. If you're using the shed, you'll need garden pots and to water them manually. But once hops are matured, they produce hops every day, which makes them the best crop to grow a ton of. The greenhouse helps automate the process since you can have hops set around sprinklers, and you don't have to manually water them because of, the sprinklers. But that's besides the point. Hops are used to brew pale ale, which takes about 3 days to brew, which means that you can make a ton of money selling hops, then make even more money selling pale ale. If you have either of those and have found the ancient seeds, I'd recommend growing and brewing those in a greenhouse. After maturing those bad boys, they'll produce a fruit every 7 days or so, and they sell for a lot of money. And if brewed into wine, they'll sell for even more. You can also grow various other things in order to cook, but you don't really need to cook unless you're going for 100%. Fishing is one of the easiest ways to make money, as you can catch multiple fish a day and sell that for the same or higher price than most crops. However, you need to get good at the fishing minigame. I'm pretty good at it, I'd say. I've played for years, but that's not the point. It's easier to master and rewards you a lot for catching tons of fish a day, as long as you have the time and energy to fish anyway. With that in mind, you're going to catch a lot of fish, with some to keep since now you can make fish ponds, which can be used to have a steady supply of high-value fish, and you can sell their eggs or age them into roe, or caviar if you have sturgeons, and you want to be a fancy guy. It's a lower maintenance version of livestock, and it's actually more efficient if you use them to raise tuna, pufferfish, super sea cucumbers, sturgeon, or if you're purely focused on profits, lava eels, which sells for a base of 700 G. There's also the legendary fish, or the fish you can only catch once a save file, and these bad boys are worth a lot, but I personally recommend buying a fish tank and putting them in your house to prove your dominance over all the sea creatures. The legendary fish are unique. There's 5 of them. Each one is relatively hard to catch. They're a fun challenge for something that makes a cool decoration/pet. After fishing, there's mining. Mining is alright, not my favorite method since it's more RNG heavy than the other methods, but it's fun enough. In the game, there's a mine full of fun things like slimes, bats, and other creatures to slay, but most importantly are the gems you can find. The mines are primarily where you'll get the large quantities of stone you'll need for various things, but more interestingly are the gems and ores. There are 5 types of ore in the game, those being copper, iron, gold, iridium, and radioactive, with the first 4 primarily being used for upgrading your tools, and the last being a late-game crafting material. The gems are useful for gifting to villagers or selling to make fat stacks of cash, and eventually you'll unlock the crafting recipe for something called the Crystallarium, which allows you to duplicate any gem except for prismatic shards. The duplication process can be efficient to use on something like a diamond for profits or jade for trading in the desert, but the most important useful gem sadly cannot be duplicated, that being the prismatic shard, This shard is excruciatingly useful and excruciating painful to get a ton of, which sucks when they're so effective. Regardless, mining is a thing, as well as combat in the mines, but they aren't my favorite thing to do. Upgrading and building your buildings is a core part of the game. From building a barn or coop to a silo to a shed to whatever you so desire to build, it's an important thing to mention. Most important are the house upgrades. Your house starts off as a small single room with nothing. Then the next upgrade makes your house bigger, makes it have a kitchen and a separate bedroom with a larger bed. The next adds a set of new rooms, including a nursery, and the last one is the most important if you do large amounts of brewing, because you get the basement, where you have casks to age your brews in order to make even more money. The barn and coop are important, and each upgrade allows for more total creatures and more new animals to be raised within. For example, you can raise dinosaurs in your coops if you upgrade them high enough and incubate a dinosaur egg. Or you can get far enough in Ginger Island, you can even raise an ostrich in your barns. The silo is the most useful building, of course. As a passive building, you can fill it with hay, and that will, give you hay and autofill the troughs in your barns. And in terms of collectibles, there is, of course, the community center, but there's also the museum and other such things. In the game, there are gems and artifacts. You can donate one of each to the museum, and you'll unlock some fun things. Eventually, you'll unlock a key that allows you to enter the sewers where Krobus resides. Krobus is a merchant, Shadow Man. He sells you all sorts of fun stuff, like a teleportation wand that takes you directly to the front of your house. The museum is like the community center, but it's visually more rewarding to see it gradually get fuller and fuller as you discover more of the collectible items. This is a very long process, but it's a very satisfying one once you have a complete collection. Also, among the other collectibles include the movie theater, if you've driven JoJamart out of town, which is a fun way to raise your friendship score and also play the crane game for fun furniture. Most importantly are the star drops, though. There are 7 total, and finding all 7 doubles your energy level, or it adds 34 energy per star drop if you want to be technical. And consuming it, quote, your head is filled with thoughts of talking heads, end quote. Or instead of saying talking heads, yours will say whatever your favorite thing is from when you created your character. Each star drop is acquired in a unique way, so go out there and find them. The last major thing to talk about in terms of what you can do is befriending, doing quests, and romancing the villagers. The way to gain friendship with the villagers is most easily achieved by giving them things twice a week and talking to them every day. Friendship on its own doesn't matter, it's not the most efficient or fun process, nor is it the most rewarding, but you do get things from this like recipes to items in the mail. There's a point to it. The quests are a way to make money off this, and your first type of quest can be found right outside the general store on the Help Wanted sign. Completing a quest gives friendship points and money, and is somewhat useful to do every once in a while. There are also the long-term big item requests board. You can unlock Fall of Year 1, which have a variety of rewards and are worth doing since they often give large quantities of money. Not a lot of friendship points, though. Anyway, the last main thing you can do is romance one of the 12 NPCs that can be romanced. Let's cut to the point. Assuming you've got 8 out of 10 hearts with one of the 12, you'll unlock the bouquet in the general store. This item allows you to ask said NPC to be your boyfriend/girlfriend, and this allows you to reach 10 hearts. At 10 hearts, you get an event where you get to kiss the girl, or guy. I just wanted to make the Disney reference. And from there, on the next rainy day, head down to the beach, cross the bridge, and find the Old Mariner. This funky old guy will sell you the mermaid pendant, which is required to achieve marriage. But what if you didn't upgrade your house? You can't get married until you've achieved the second house upgrade, since it gives you a kitchen and an additional room. Once those conditions have been met, propose, and you'll be married in 3 days. Marriage in this game has changed a lot since I first started. Initially, you'd get gifts most mornings, and you'd achieve 12 or so hearts, then get a star drop from them. And if you had the third house upgrade, you could have/adopt kids. And that was about it. In a later update, the heart limit on a spouse was up to 14. And they added a special marriage quest for each in order to make them more interesting. It's not the most useful thing in the game, but it helps with that whole immersion aspect. And it's kind of fun. Now knowing what you can do as a farmer, the real question that's left is how does it feel to be a farmer? The answer is that it's really satisfying. It's really satisfying to reap the rewards of your labor with crops or seeing the absurd amount of money you can make by selling artisan goods, crops, fish, and more in the same day, but most importantly, it's really relaxing. When you're just playing the game to play it, being a farmer is fun and stress relieving. Playing alone is a very calm experience. Of course, as time went on, they added co-op to the game, and that can get pretty hectic when you've got up to 3 other people with you, and you're doing different tasks and trying to romance the same NPC. But at its core, it's a game to relax with, a game to escape the cold, harsh reality called reality. It's really odd how a game that makes you do a lot of work can be so relaxing. Let me say that while I love this game, it isn't for everyone. Stardew Valley does not have, quote, the instant gratification of a knife attack. And if any of you understand what that's from, props to you, so to speak. It's a game that takes its time with rewarding you. It takes time to grow crops or find all the artifacts or befriend the town. It takes a lot of time to reach the bottom of the mines. It takes effort, it takes will, and it takes time. The time it takes feels rewarding when it's finally done, and it's great. The fact that it goes slower makes it so much easier to get lost in the world of the game. And if you're someone who really only plays FPS games and is used to games that provide instant gratification, of a knife attack of course, then the less than instant gratification of a farm may not be for you. But if you have patience, this game is perfect. I must reiterate that the core of this game is work. You're putting in blood, sweat, and crops, and it's so rewarding if you're willing to put the effort into it. Being a farmer in this game is great. Everything I've said so far has been positive, and this is where that stops. This is where I talk about going beyond the valley of the farm and into the realm of perfection. The criteria for the most part is exactly what you'd expect. You know, getting max friendship with everyone, crafting every item, cooking every recipe, catching all the fish, selling every farm and forage item, finding every star drop, all that jazz. But there's more than that, and this is where the game starts to turn into a highway of fire. First up, the 5 magic buildings. Upon completing the community center, head up to the railroad and trigger a cutscene where the wizard is attempting to enter an area that's been blocked off by a mysterious symbol. So you go down to the sewers, enter a previously locked area, collect a talisman, and head back up. Interact with the sign and enter the cave. If you happen to have some void mayonnaise, this process will go faster since you needed to bribe a goblin that's preventing you from entering a hut in the cave. Give him the mayo and enter. Retrieve the magic ink and bring it to the wizard's tower. From there, you unlock the wizard's magic buildings. Wow! This introduces 5 complications, and no dog. 4 obelisks and a golden clock. These obelisks act as warp stations to the mountains, the beach, the desert, and the island, and are pretty expensive things to build. If building the obelisks doesn't bankrupt you, then the final required wizard building will, as it's the most expensive thing in the entire game. This one hurts to get unless you have 10 million G just laying around. But most don't have that kind of money, so prepare to grind for cash. On the surface it looks like it's just a purely cosmetic item, but what it actually does is pretty nice. It prevents debris from appearing on both the main farm and the island farm, which makes fences last forever, and it's accurate to the in-game time. Sometimes it really is all about the money, Spider-Man. The crafting and cookie recipes are no small feat either. Acquiring every cooking recipe is a pain if you aren't very familiar with how the Queen of Sauce TV show works, and getting every crafting recipe involves a lot of purchasing, a lot of friendship, a lot of quests, and a lot of leveling up. Of course, these items all require various resources to make, but you only need to make one of each. So if you get good at knowing what all the items you'll need are and how to hoard them, this will still be a very time-consuming task. Regardless, slightly less time-consuming if you have everything. The easy tasks are still annoying, like achieving level 10 in every skill, finding every star drop, finding every golden walnut on Ginger Island, and catching every fish. But those are all relatively simple tasks, albeit a wee bit time consuming. But what's not easy is befriending everyone. Every NPC has unique likes and dislikes, and you have to give a lot of gifts every week in order to achieve max hearts with everyone. There are 11 NPCs you have to get 8 hearts with, 22 you have to get 10 hearts with, and 1 you have to get 14 hearts with. The 14 hearts NPC is easy, that's the NPC you married. The 8 hearts NPCs are the 11 other romanceable NPCs, and they're only 8 hearts since you'd have to give them a bouquet in order to reach 10 hearts, and you can't do that after getting married, you cheating bastard. And the 22 others are the regular old NPCs. This takes far longer than you'd think, and even if you play as efficiently as possible, you still have to get to year 2 because one NPC doesn't show up until year 2 starts. It's really tedious to collect enough gifts to get max friendship with everyone, especially since you can only give 2 gifts per week to one NPC. If you've done all of the previous feats and added up all their percentages towards completion, you'd have 90%. So where does that last 10% come from? The mines. And specifically the Monster Slayer goals. I didn't mention combat all that much since it isn't too important if you're playing casually, but here, oh boy, welcome to pain. Outside the mines, there is a shack called the Adventurers Guild. This place is your monster hunting hub, and you'll get rewarded as you complete each goal. Now, what are these goals? Get ready to slice and dice your way through 1,000 slimes, 150 void spirits, 200 bats, 50 skeletons, 125 cave insects, 30 duggies, 500 dust sprites, and 60 rock crabs. And that's just in the valley itself. Beyond the valley, like in the skull caverns, the desert mines, you have to kill 100 mummies, 50 big dinosaurs, 250 serpents, and in the final goal, on Ginger Island, you must kill 150 magma sprites. Upon killing all 2,665 required monsters, you are rewarded with your last 10%. And if done in conjunction with everything else, congratulations, you've achieved perfection. Now, upon achieving perfection, go to bed, and the next day you'll step outside and be greeted by various things, and I won't spoil what happens in the ending of the game, but there's a lot of end-game content that unlocks here. For example, if you interact with the Perfection Tracker in Mr. Key's Walnut Room, you'll be given the Statue of True Perfection, which gives the player 1 prismatic shard every day after placement. Perfection also unlocks golden chickens with golden eggs, a special hat that's the developer's icon, and a star drop that appears above Grandpa's shrine. If you're so inclined, make your way up to the train tracks and climb up the newly appeared stairs to view the end of the game. Congratulations, you deserved it. All of this said, should the average Joe go for 100%? Absolutely not. The Highway of Fire to perfection is a very long and tedious road, but if you're a veteran like me, living in the City of Dreams after driving on this Highway of Fire is worth it. And should we awake to find it gone, remember this our favorite time. This journey is not for the average Joe, but man, if you're really committed to the idea of becoming the perfect farmer, may God be with you on your way to live in the City of Dreams. I mentioned earlier that I've been playing this game for years, coming up on 8 years now, and I gotta say I still love this game as much as I did the day I first played it. It's such a relaxing game that does so much more than a game like this needed to do, and having seen it grow over the years has been really cool. Back in my day when I started, there was no multiplayer or Ginger Island. There wasn't really an end point. There wasn't a reward for perfection. It was just a sandbox farm game that was super charming. And I'm glad to say that the charm is still there. I've become a lot more cynical in the years since I started playing this game, but even now this game is one of the absolute best. This game is an indie gem, one of the absolute best games out there, and it ranks very highly among my favorite games. Clocking in at number 3 in my top 5, this game is gorgeous and it still holds up to this day. It's such a great game, and I don't know why this game resonates with me as much as it does, but man, this game is one of the absolute best. Stardew Valley is easily one of the best indie games ever made, and is a game I still play fairly often. It's been a cornerstone of my hours, and it will continue to be one of the best. I already said my final rating for this game, and I will stand by my belief that this is one of the best indie games out there, and deserving of a solid 10 out of 10 masterpiece rating. That being said, Stardew Valley is a solid 10 out of 10 masterpiece. Anyhow, my name's a leg of glazed ham, and thank you for listening to this insane mess of a video essay. It really means a lot. I'm sorry that you've just listened to me awkwardly stumble through this, but you listening to it really, really, truly means a lot. Thanks again, and good night.